Welcome back to the channel traders. Let's look at XRP today. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, we're going to do a deep dive on XRP. I'm going to show you guys how I set up my charts, how I come to my conclusions, going to give you guys where I would be looking to enter the market and what my triggers are and targets. It's not financial advice, guys. I'm just some dude who quit his job to trade for a living and is sharing that online. So if you're interested in that, I've also got a free online community. It's a Discord server. You can add me as a friend. My name is down below. I'll add you to the Discord, and you guys can participate, post charts, see charts from other traders, both in altcoins, Bitcoin, and traditional markets. Let's take a look at XRP. I've really got two levels up on this chart that are super important. We've got our weekly order block that's basically back testing this. It looks like inverse head and shoulders or some variation of it. Or you could just call this a double bottom if you just wanted to look at it as two bottoms, right? And then you've got this 62-cent line. We need a weekly close above it. This is um, our kind of like go bullish mode, right? So let's talk about why that is. If we take a look at range data, you can see that I've got them all based on months right here. So let's look at November because November to me is pretty important. Let's go to a 4 hour. I think the 4 hour is just fine. I may have to bump up the time scale just because I need to get more data. So you can see that this is our point of control of the range. The range is very well defined. Let's go to a 6 hour just to kind of keep things a little bit shorter here. There we go. Range is really well defined. Get back in this range, you go to 62 cents. If you get above 62 cents, you go to here, right? And we were looking for this rotation of this range based on something that Bitcoin does a lot. We are going to compare XRP to Bitcoin quite a bit. You can see that we had what's called a bump and run pattern here. So if you haven't been following me, you know that this was the initial bump. That's your target. You're basically how you'd have traded this is target one for take profit. You would have had three of them. You'd have been 50 cents just to make sure you got some profits. Then you were looking up to 62 cents at the point of control, and then final take profit the highs of the range at 72 cents. This did go to 76. The target was the high here at 78, I believe. Yeah, 78 cents was the high, right? And so that would have been our target. Obviously, you front run your targets because this hit 76 cents, but close enough is close enough. Very technical pattern, and now we have come back and back tested this order block, which we just looked at, is basically a back test of the initial breakout. And that is something that should look very familiar to you based on Bitcoin. And we're going to compare these in just a second. Now let's look at December's range. I'm not going to pull up the point of controls just because I don't want to mess with the fixed range. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this guy. So we have November and December, right? So now we're looking at December. And December is actually coming to the downside. We're trending down. January, we're trending down, much further down, capitulation, so to speak. And then right here, we have a little bit of a change of behavior. Not only are we trending above January's range, completely above, there's really almost no overlap. And the range isn't done yet, though. So I know we still have 24 days left, but this is a good start. This is an early indication that this asset may begin to trend the other way. So we need to keep an eye on February's range, right? So February is going to be very important for XRP because if it begins to trend up on a monthly basis, that is something that you want to keep an eye on because it's a pretty important time frame, right? Now XRP moves pretty violently and very quickly, so we're going to cover the idea that maybe this doesn't give us that slow progression to the upside like Bitcoin did over the course of a few months. Maybe we get something sooner. And we need to be prepared for both scenarios, whether it's a grind up and these ranges begin to expand to the upside slowly like it did to the downside, or if it just kind of happens all at once. So now that we've looked at those levels, we know that the bottom of this range is about 34.39 cents on Bybit. And so that's a pretty important level. And we're going to show you why this is such a key area to not close in, primarily on a monthly basis. You could start looking at the weekly on it and probably use weekly time frames as early indicators because those are high time frames. I wouldn't really base anything off of like 4 or 12-hour closes in this region. I would base everything off of maybe a 3-day to a weekly. Let's go over to Bitstamp where all of our data is on this asset because that's where most of the data is going to be found. And you can see that this is our overall range. Let's go to the weekly. How did we find this overall range? I'll show you real quick here. It's a very simple way to find this and you can just use one tool. Let's go ahead and get rid of my fibs. Right, and we've just got basically a demand line right here that dates back a couple years. So trend lines, they do work if they're that old. And then you've got your supply line that also dates back to about December of 2017. And you've got a flat bottom of support. So at some point, we have to look at, is this going to make higher highs or lower lows? This is your range. You want to stay out of this range. You can see that we're back testing it now. So we were just looking at the February range and we said 34.59 cents on Bybit. On Bitstamp here, it's like 34. It's pretty close. It's about the same. What's the low of this candle? We'll just call it 34 cents. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to say it's the same. We need to stay out of this, but look at what we did. We back tested this structure. Again, we find we back tested the structure again. So it looks very good. We've seen this before on Bitcoin. We're going to cover that here in just a second. So we've seen this before on Bitcoin. We know that we need to stay out of this range on higher time frame closings, that we need to come up here and consolidate and put in some constructive price action, right? So wicks down in this region are okay. Don't want to see anything else. If we go to Bitcoin, we have seen this before. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, right? So there's the same structure. What did we do? We back tested it. All right, so keep that in mind. Now let's come over here. When Bitcoin goes into these parabolic run-ups, and this is something that I posted back in like May when I was working for another group doing trading analyst work. It gets above its macro 0.5, and that's the all-time high to the all-time low. Once it cracks the macro 0.5 on a weekly basis for the second time, you get these run-ups. This is your bull-tard move. Now, the sell-off is the question mark. How low will the sell-off go? It varies from market to market, but if you look again, what did it essentially do? Let's just use our magnet tool and let's use a horizontal line. It's a back test of the structure. That's all it is. So what did we do when we ran up to our macro 0.5 up here, right? So we came up to the macro 0.5 and then we came back and we back tested the structure again. So it looks very familiar. And if we look at our macro 0.5, which actually what I had done when I was doing this for trading, I said this is the order block we got to get above. I kind of just, even though the Fibonacci was a little bit off, this was the area I was looking for. We wanted to see a weekly closure above this order block because we just had a really clear order block for it. And it worked really well. You could see that basically you could have shorted this order block for 2 years and been golden. You've only gotten 1, 2, 3 attempts at it. And then on the fourth one here, what did we get? We got our first weekly closure above it, that change of behavior. We got the sell off, the back test of structure, and then off we went. And we went very fast because this is essentially just a giant Adam and Eve double bottom, which Bitcoin loves. That actually starts almost every single bull market. You can look at this and just, I mean, the measured move on something like this is, we'll just use the order block here since that's what we're going off of. Measured move on this has been exceeded, obviously, but it was essentially new all-time highs, right? So that's kind of cool. Now, let's go take a look at XRP one more time. We've got some very similar things going on. So we have this back test of the structure we just talked about, but do we have a pattern on there to denote the same thing? Well, yes. Yes, we do. We've got this guy going on. It's pretty neat. We could probably just chalk it up to yet another order block, right? See this little guy right in here. Let's go ahead and just use him since we're on the weekly and we're already there. This is your bullish order block that we need to get back above. So this is our order block. This is our arc. This is our, oops, excuse me. This is our Adam and Eve, right? Or reverse Adam and Eve, however you want to look at it. We've got our back test of structure. We've got our order block that we need to get above. Lines up really, really, really nicely, actually, with our fibs, wherever I put those, right here. You've got your all-time high to the current cycle low. Where's our 50% mark? Also coming in right around this order block. We're looking to get our second closure on a weekly basis above this level. And if we can, we do have clear targets. You can see that I've already worked those up for you at a convenience. It's about $2.50. I highly doubt we stop at $2.50 if we get there. I would imagine there's not very much volume up here and that we're probably going to all-time highs. I can it be that simple? I mean, it depends on what you define as simple. I think it can. So again, what is going to be our first indicator and potentially a trigger? When I say trigger, I mean we at least know we have a trade. I think we're going to back test that 50 cent mark at a minimum. But if we get above 50 cents, right? We get above 50 cents here, you can see that this looks better, right? This is something that we don't do often. And when we do, we go straight to 62 cents. Get above 50 cents, go to 62 cents. I mean, it's hard to argue with that, right? So if we get above 50 cents, we target 62 cents. If we can close a weekly or even better yet, a monthly above 61.5 cents or 62 cents, I think is what we were deciding on here. These guys, let's get rid of our 50 cent mark here. We can get above 62 cents on a weekly closing basis. We'd also be above this order block, which is at 58.123 cents at the top. If you're not counting the wick, if you count the wick, it is basically 62.062 cents. So 62.062 cents, if you're being really, really cautious, becomes kind of your trigger for we're probably going to make higher prices. At a minimum, I would highly expect us to come into this region and have a little foray into here. And so even if this doesn't fulfill its targets and hit these upper targets, right? Let's say you just took the long off of 62 cents. Let's say you got in at 62.4 cents. Just to the golden pocket alone at 91 cents, that's 47%. If you make it to the 6.6 at $1.05, you're at 70%. And if we come all the way up to about $1.22, my favorite number is 22, you're looking at about 94%. There's no reason not to take that trade when you have such a clear invalidation right here. You could put your stop down below the order block, whatever you want to do. But for me, I would be taking that trade all day. So should you be accumulating XRP right here? I think it would be, as long as this level holds, you could start accumulating. In my opinion, it would be wise to at least have some. Now, I think with opportunity cost being kind of shitty on it in the sense that you have all these other alts that are making really great gains. XRP kind of is a laggard. And so you have to look at it and say, how much is it really worth for me to want to be involved in this potential when I can get in later on a confirmation? So if you are planning to accumulate XRP, do keep that in mind that there are other projects that in the short term may provide better yields, and even in the long term might provide better yields. There's a lot of really good coins in the market, but this is one that I think, or at least I've been saying, is kind of flying underneath the radar a bit. And so what we're looking for now is that change in behavior. We want to see this order block right here regained. If we can get above it, we're probably going to 91 cents, right? And so at a minimum and higher, I mean, if we hit the fulfilled target of this at 250, there is no reason in my mind it doesn't at least take the liquidity of these highs. I can't imagine that this doesn't get taken out. That is $3.31. So that's what I got for you guys today. If you like this video, leave me a like. If you didn't like it, let me know what you didn't like about it. If you hate XRP, I'm sorry. I can't do anything for you there, but I can tell you if you hate XRP, basically all you want to see is it lose this level right in this region at about 34 cents on some high time frame closures, and it would start to look kind of bearish because you'd be back into this lower range and probably cycling down to this point of control at 20 cents or so. So that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the video. I will catch you guys in the next one.